After the pomp and circumstance of the coronation last weekend, the next moment to watch in the Australia-UK relationship is the start of the free trade agreement. The agreement signed by the then coalition in 2021 in Adelaide comes into force at the end of the month. Joining me in the studio is Australia-UK expert, of course, former CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, David McCredie. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Tim.
What does this really mean to our trading relationship with the UK?
Well, at the moment, about 86% of goods from Australia going to the UK go in tariff-free, but we're going to lift that to 99% of goods on day of entry into force, which is the last day of this month. So it's fantastic. As you know, we've spoken about this in this studio for probably 4 or 5 years now. So it's great to see the end of the road on this journey and be in a place where, you know, businesses will actually be able to get their hands around it and get onto it and start increasing that trade flow between Australia and the UK.
So when we talk about goods and services and the opportunities, what do you see as the key sectors?
Well, look, as we mentioned, sort of goods, 99% of tariffs are gone. The paperwork and the paper trail that you have to do in terms of all of the overseas movement of goods will be streamlined and improved. A very strong push towards digitalisation in that area. But I think really one of the big stories is around services. About half of the trade between Australia and the UK is in services, and that's in both directions, both from Australia to the UK and vice versa. And so the opportunity for us to do even more in those spaces where it's actually not so much about proximity, it's about delivering the service, means that there's great opportunities for more businesses, more jobs here in Australia to deliver those services into the future.
Now, a common love of yours and mine is wine, and I've got lots of friends that work in that sector. That's one of the industries that really jumps to me when I think about the way that it is just distributed and sold globally.
Yeah, that's right. And there's a great example there. So wine currently has a tariff. At the end of the month, it won't. So that makes the bottle of Shardy that so many Brits like to pick up on the from Tesco's or the local off-licence on the way to a barbecue on the weekend just that much cheaper. It also obviously gives us a really interesting opportunity, not just in the bottled wine, but in the bulk wine that we send to the UK as well. So there's lots of Australian producers that send effectively 20-foot containers with bladders in them and then bottle the wine in the UK and then can distribute it from there across the UK. And there's a great opportunity there to grow that without that tariff impost that's caused a bit of grief in the past.
Absolutely. You know, touched on it before, innovation. We've heard a lot about innovation with the FTA. Can you extrapolate on that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think 3 things that really stick out, that are really important for businesses when you're looking to bring in new experiences, new IP, is the ability to get people moving between places, to be able to work wherever you need to. And Australia and the UK have had a strong innovation history, the FinTech Bridge and then the Space Bridge over the last few years. And this really takes that next step to allow us even more integration. There are things like supporting industry bodies to have similar regulations and standards so that the interoperability between markets becomes much easier. There's a whole range of pieces around the digital trade environment as well as innovation. So things like the storage of data, where that needs to happen, how we can use data between the 2 countries. And so even just things like scientific research in terms of the bare bones of it will be much easier to collaborate on between the 2 countries going forward.
Now, what about the coronation? I've been held down by some of my friends by defending Harry in the sense of, you know, from a humanistic point of view, sitting 3 sets back behind a big hairpiece by Princess Anne. Look, I could really feel for him. What did you make of the whole thing?
Look, I thought it was terrific. One of the things that I think all of us can admire, whether we're monarchists or Republicans, you have to admire the way the Brits put on a spectacular like that. We saw it for the Queen's coronation and funeral, but for the Queen's Jubilee and then funeral, and then obviously now for the coronation. 4,000 soldiers and service people marching through the streets, the grandeur of the carriage, the crowning, the different crowns that the King gets to wear. The whole piece was just one of those magic moments. And one of the things that people fail to recognise often is how important that British monarchy is in the soft power game in global geopolitics. And I think that they've set the King up for good success into the future with that. 20 million people watched it. Extraordinary number of people watching it around the world.
Absolutely. And the talk is heading down under, like King Charles did do part of his education here.
Yeah, that's right. He spent some time at Geelong Grammar, and he's been out a number of times. I've met him on previous visits that he's been here to Australia. He's got a very fond piece of his own personal history, but a very great fondness for Australians and for Australia. So look forward to seeing him here in the not too distant future.
Yeah, and finally, the fondness definitely drops when we come to sport. We are only just a few weeks away from the Ashes, and this is shaping up nicely, isn't it? Stephen Smith and a couple of other boys are over there playing county cricket.
Yeah, that's right, and the Australians seem to be performing pretty well. I think, my tip is Marcus North will get the nod as you've got Travis Head, you've got Marcus North, you've got Marnus Labuschagne playing well, you've got Steve Smith playing well. The batting side looks pretty good, and then you've got Michael Neser coming in and taking a hat trick. I don't know if you saw that as part of a seven-fer in the last round. So. Really all looking pretty good for the Australians in the summer.
Yeah, okay, it all happens in a few weeks' time. Good to chat.
Good to see you, Tim.